Have you ever ignored a call from your parents and told yourself, I'll call them back later? Have you ever been too busy building your life that you slowly forgot the people who gave you one? And what if one day that later never comes? I used to believe I had a good reason. 10 years ago, I left my hometown with one small suitcase and one big promise to myself. I would never go back until I became successful. Back then, I was tired of being poor, tired of watching my parents count every coin before buying something small, tired of hearing my father say, "We'll try again next month." So I left. At first, I called home every week. My mother always asked the same questions. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? Do you need more money? I used to smile and say, I'm fine. But as time passed, things changed. Work became busier, life became faster, and slowly, those phone calls became shorter and then less frequent. Once a week turned into once a month. Once a month turned into only holidays. And then, sometimes, I didn't call at all. But they still called me. Every time my phone lit up with mom or dad, I looked at it, hesitated, and thought, I'll call back later. Sometimes I really was busy, but most of the time, I just didn't feel like talking. I told myself, I'm doing this for them. I need to focus. They'll understand. And maybe, deep down, I also didn't want them to see who I was becoming. Because the truth is, I wasn't as successful as I imagined. I was just surviving, working long hours, and feeling tired all the time, trying to prove something, but not even sure what it was anymore. Talking to them made me feel guilty, so I avoided it. Years passed like this. I changed jobs, moved apartments, met new people, lost some of them too. Life kept moving forward. But somehow, something inside me stayed empty. And still, they kept calling, even when I didn't answer, even when I forgot their birthdays, even when I didn't come home for holidays anymore. They never stopped. Until one day, my phone rang again. It was my father. I almost ignored it, like always. My finger hovered over the screen. Decline or answer. For some reason, I felt something different that day. A strange feeling, like if I didn't pick up this call, something would change forever. So I answered, and what I heard on the other end was not what I expected. It wasn't my father's voice, it was someone else. Hello, is this his son? The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, calm, but careful, like someone choosing their words very slowly. My heart tightened. Yes, this is me, I said. Who is this? There was a short pause. I'm calling from the hospital, the voice continued. Your father has been admitted. He asked us to call you. For a moment, I didn't understand. Hospital? My father? It didn't make sense. Just a few days ago, I had seen his missed call. I even remembered thinking, I'll call him this weekend, but I never did. What happened? I asked, my voice suddenly dry. He collapsed at home, the man said gently. Your mother found him. He's stable for now, but he keeps asking for you. Stable, for now. Those two words echoed in my mind, louder than anything else. I'll come, I said quickly. I'll be there as soon as possible. I don't even remember hanging up. Everything after that felt like a blur. I grabbed my bag without thinking, booked the earliest ticket I could find, left my apartment without turning off the lights. On the way to the airport, my phone was silent, no messages, no calls, just me and 10 years of memories I had been avoiding. I remembered my father teaching me how to ride a bicycle, running behind me, holding the seat, even when I told him I could do it myself. I remembered the nights he came home late, still smelling of sweat and dust, but always smiling when he saw me. I remembered the way he used to say, "Don't worry about us. Just focus on your future." And somehow, I took that as permission to forget them. The plane felt too slow. Every minute in the air felt like a punishment. I kept looking at my phone, hoping for another call, hoping someone would say, "He's okay now." But nothing came. When I finally arrived, it was already late. The hospital looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had just become a stranger to this place. My steps slowed down as I walked inside. I suddenly felt afraid, afraid of what I might see, afraid of what I might realize. At the end of the hallway, I saw her, my mother. She was sitting alone on a plastic chair. Her hands were resting on her knees, her eyes fixed on the floor. She looked smaller, older, like the years I had been gone had quietly taken something from her. I stood there for a moment, unable to move. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I even had the right to say anything. Then she looked up. Our eyes met, and for a second, I thought she would be angry, or disappointed, or distant. But she wasn't. She just stood up slowly, walked toward me, and said one simple sentence. "You came." That was all. No blame, no questions, just those two words. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. My throat felt tight. My chest felt heavy. I had imagined this moment many times, but never like this. She turned slightly and pointed toward a door behind her. "He's inside," she said softly. "He's been waiting." Waiting for me for 10 years, or maybe just for this moment. My hand reached for the door, but I hesitated because deep down, I knew something. Once I walked into that room, nothing in my life would ever feel the same again. My hand stayed on the door handle, but I couldn't push it open. For 10 years, I had avoided this moment, and now it was right in front of me. I took a deep breath, then slowly, I stepped inside. The room was quiet, too quiet. There was a soft sound from a machine, steady, repetitive. Beep, beep, beep. And then I saw him, my father. He looked smaller than I remembered. His hair was thinner, his face was pale. His body, once strong and always moving, now lay still on the bed. For a second, I thought I walked into the wrong room. This couldn't be him. Not the man who used to carry heavy bags like they weighed nothing. Not the man who never seemed tired, no matter how long he worked. But it was him, and I was 10 years too late to notice how much he had changed. I stepped closer. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the bed, I didn't know what to do. Should I speak? Should I touch him? Should I apologize? None of it felt enough. Then, his eyes slowly opened, and he looked at me. At first, there was confusion, like he wasn't sure if I was real. But then, something changed. His eyes softened, and in a quiet, fragile voice, he said, "You came back." Not, "Where have you been?" Not, "Why didn't you call?" Just that. "You came back." My chest tightened. I wanted to say so many things. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should have been here." But the words wouldn't come out. All I could do was nod. I reached for his hand. It felt warm, but weak. Nothing like the strong hands I remembered. He held mine gently, like he was afraid I might disappear again. "I didn't want to bother you," he said slowly. "I know you're busy, building your life." Those words felt like a knife, because that's exactly what I had told myself for years, that I was too busy, that I would call later, that there would always be more time. But standing there, holding his fragile hand, I realized something I had been running from. Time doesn't wait, and parents don't stay the same forever. "I'm not busy," I finally whispered. I'm here now. But even as I said it, it felt too late. He gave a small smile, the same smile I remembered from years ago. I knew you would come, he said. I told your mother you just needed time. Time. The one thing I thought I had plenty of. The one thing I wasted the most. Silence filled the room again, but this time, it wasn't empty. It was heavy, filled with all the words we never said, all the moments we never shared, all the years that would never come back. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in 10 years, I saw not just my father, but a man who had been waiting, waiting for a call, waiting for a visit, waiting for his son to come home. And suddenly, I understood something that changed everything. He was never the one who was far away. I was. I stayed there, holding his hand longer than I expected. Neither of us said much. There were no big conversations, no dramatic apologies, just silence and the quiet sound of the machine beside him. But somehow, that silence said everything. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't checking my phone. I wasn't rushing anywhere. I was just there. With him? After a while, he slowly closed his eyes again, not in pain, just tired. I gently let go of his hand and stepped back. When I walked out of the room, my mother was still sitting there. She looked up at me, searching my face, like she was trying to read something. How is he? She asked quietly. I sat down next to her. He's okay, I said. He was waiting for me. She nodded. I know, she said. There was no surprise in her voice, like she had known all along, even when I didn't. We sat together in silence. It felt unfamiliar, but not uncomfortable, just distant, like two people who used to be close, but forgot how to talk. After a few minutes, she spoke again. He still keeps your old room the same, she said. I turned to look at her. He cleans it every week, even when you stopped coming home. My chest tightened. He said, you might come back anytime, and he didn't want you to feel like a guest. A guest? That word hit harder than anything else, because that's exactly what I had become. A visitor in my own home, a stranger in my parents' lives. I should have come back sooner, I said quietly. My mother didn't answer right away. She just looked down at her hands. You were busy, she said after a moment. You had your own life. No anger, no blame, just acceptance. And somehow, that made everything worse, because it meant they had already learned to live without me. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the floor. I thought, if I worked hard enough, I could give you both a better life, I said. She gave a small smile. We never asked for a better life, she replied. We just wanted you to be part of ours. That sentence stayed in the air, simple, honest, and impossible to ignore. All those years, I thought success meant money, a better apartment, a better job. But sitting there, in a quiet hospital hallway, I started to question everything. What was the point of earning more if I had no one to share it with? What was the point of building a life if the people who mattered most were no longer part of it? I looked at my mother again. Her hair had more gray than I remembered. Her hands looked thinner. Time hadn't just passed. It had taken something from them, and I wasn't there to see it. I'm sorry, I finally said. This time, the words came out, not perfect, not enough, but real. She looked at me and gently shook her head. You're here now, she said. That was all. No long speech, no emotional reaction, just acceptance. But as I sat there, I realized something important. Being here now, didn't erase the past. It didn't bring back the birthdays I missed, the holidays I skipped, the calls I ignored, and it didn't change one quiet truth. I still didn't know how much time we had left. That night, I didn't go back to my apartment. I stayed at the hospital, sitting in that same hallway, listening to the same quiet sounds. For the first time in years, I had nowhere else I wanted to be. No meetings, no deadlines, no excuses, just time. Time I once thought I had too much of, but now realized I almost ran out of. In the early morning, a nurse walked out of my father's room. "He's awake," she said gently. I stood up immediately. This time, I didn't hesitate. I walked straight in. He was looking at the window. The sunlight was just beginning to come in, soft and quiet. When he heard my footsteps, he turned his head slightly. "You're still here," he said. I nodded. "I'm not leaving," I replied. "Not today. Not like before." He looked at me for a moment, like he was trying to understand something. Then he gave a small smile. "Good," he said. We didn't talk much after that, but something had changed. I pulled a chair closer to his bed, sat down, and just stayed. At one point, I took out my phone. I looked at the long list of missed calls from the past. So many from mom, so many from dad. Each one, a moment I chose to ignore. Each one, a chance I didn't take. I slowly put the phone away. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to check anything because the only thing that mattered was right in front of me. Later that day, I called my manager. "I need some time off," I said. There was a pause. "For how long?" he asked. I looked at my father, lying quietly, breathing slowly. Then I answered, "As long as it takes." I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if my father would fully recover. I didn't know how much time we had left, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to miss it again. That evening, my mother brought some food. We sat together, the three of us, in that small hospital room. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the life I imagined, but somehow, it felt like home. And for the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel like a stranger anymore. If you're listening to this right now, and you still have your parents, don't wait. Don't wait for the right time. Don't wait until you feel successful enough. Don't wait until life slows down. Because it won't. And one day, you might get a phone call. That changes everything. Call them, visit them, sit with them, even in silence. Because one day, that silence might be the only thing left. Thank you for listening. If this story made you think of someone, maybe it's time to reach out.